afternoon, and thank you for joining us here today. This afternoon, I am pleased to be joined by City Councilmember Scott Sherman, our city's Chief Operating Officer, Kris Michell, and our Director of Finance for the City of San Diego, Matt Vespi. Today, I'd like to cover a few important updates. The first is how COVID-19 is impacting our city's finances. The second is an update related to our homeless population and our continued efforts to protect them against the virus. And lastly, an update regarding our city personnel. Yesterday, we spoke about the unprecedented economic crisis caused by this unprecedented health crisis. San Diego residents are affected, and that's why yesterday we enacted emergency ordinance to protect both residential and commercial tenants from eviction due to COVID-19 hardships. San Diego businesses are affected, and that's why the council approved my small business relief fund to help employers sustain their operations. And the tourism industry, a pillar of our local economy and the city's third largest source of revenue, is also deeply affected. Hotels that were once bustling with visitors from around the world are unfortunately now seeing occupancy rates fall to single digits, and in some cases, they are closed altogether. When residents are affected, when our businesses are affected, and when tourism is affected, the city of San Diego is also affected because we are all in this together. Sales tax revenue and tourism tax revenue are all taking an incredible hit. And this is money we count on to pay for public services like police, fire rescue, and libraries. This is a new reality for all of us. And I want to be upfront with San Diegans about the impact that the COVID-19 pandemic is having on the city's budget over the next several months. And I will continue to give these updates as more information and numbers become available. So today, I want to share some preliminary figures with you. These change by the day and sometimes by the hour, but it's where we stand right now. Sales tax, which usually brings in $300 million each fiscal year, is projected to drop by $26 million in the next 4 months. That's our second largest source of revenue. In the same time frame, the tax on tourists who stay in hotels is projected to drop by $83 million lower than expected. That's our third largest source of revenue. In total, early projections show the city is expected to lose more than $109 million through June 30th, when our fiscal year ends. To put this in perspective, $109 million pays for almost the entire Park and Rec department for a year. More than $100 million lost in just a few weeks. This is the impact on the pandemic so far. And public health officials agree that we still have a ways to go. One of my biggest priorities every fiscal year is building up our reserves. And with the support from the City Council, we've established a strong ethic of fiscal discipline. For example, we've created the city's first pension stabilization reserve for situations just like this. San Diego is better equipped than ever before to get through this. But even so, it's nearly impossible to fully prepare for an event of this magnitude. We have been saving for a rainy day. This is a hurricane. The stimulus package coming out of Washington, D.C. will offer some support. It is a step in the right direction. And I know we are all thankful that local government was kept in mind, and it will surely provide some relief to San Diego. But the hole being dug here is deeper than anything that we have seen before. So we appreciate the discussions that are continuing in the House. We will see if even more dollars can be allocated so cities can continue to effectively serve the public. But we cannot rely on federal assistance alone. So I expect cities and states across the country to be talking about these massive financial hits in the coming days. But we have worked, and I've worked, to make sure San Diego is a leader when it comes to fiscal discipline, and we're not going to stop now. As we work to come up with solutions to address this massive reduction in tax revenue, I want San Diegans at home to know that despite the difficult belt tightening that will need to occur, I know that neighborhoods are priorities for San Diegans, especially now, neighborhood services, and they remain a priority for me. I am committed to ensuring San Diego's neighborhoods continue to come first. And I am also deeply committed to supporting our small businesses, our restaurants, and our tourism industry to help them bounce back even stronger than when this is behind us. So I want to say thank you again to each and every San Diegan and business that is making a sacrifice for the greater good. We can and we will get through this together. In the coming weeks, I look forward to working with Councilmember Barbara Bree, who chairs our city's Budget Committee, and Councilmember Scott Sherman, who chairs our city's Audit Committee. And now I'd like to invite Councilmember Sherman to come to the microphone and make a few remarks. Councilmember, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for bringing forth this very important discussion that we're having today. I also want to thank your staff and the city staff for all the work that we're doing to try and make sure that city services remained operating and functional. In the past, when the city faced budget cuts and economic uncertainty, such as in 2004 and 2008, they made decisions back then that we are still dealing with today by cutting core services and funding for those types of operations. We're still playing catch-up. Today, the mayor, myself, and my colleagues on the council will soon be facing many of the same tough decisions. What we can't do is make the mistakes we made of the past and make sure that we have some very difficult decisions that we need to make going forward. We need to prioritize our budget spending on the core functions of government and the core services that it provides to San Diegans and to San Diego residents. You know, San Diegans are hurting right now, and government is going to be hurting as well. And my colleagues and I will be facing some very, very difficult decisions. In the upcoming weeks, we'll be getting a lot of pressure from different special interest groups and that want to make sure that their funding isn't cut or isn't reduced. Those decisions are going to be very difficult, but have to be made. We can't be thinking about political agendas or different special interest groups. We have to focus on the core services that this government provides. And that's what I'm hoping and calling upon my colleagues to do, is now is the time for us to come together to unite behind very, very difficult decisions that need to be made to make sure that San Diegans continue to receive the core services they expect from their tax dollars. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to the staff for going on this exercise and going through this very important discussion, because coming up, we will have very difficult decisions that we need to make, that we need to explain to the people. So thank you all for being here, and thank you again, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Councilmember Sherman, for all your help on the Audit Committee. We're going to need it. Next up, I'd like to provide an update on our efforts to protect some of our most vulnerable from COVID-19. As you know, Tuesday, we moved 55 families from the city's bridge shelter to the upper level of Golden Hall, operated by Father Joe's Villages, and 2 motels using some of the 200 rooms that were secured by the county's Regional Task Force on the Homeless. Yesterday, we moved 100 women from Father Joe's Village interim shelter and from Path Connections to the lower level of Golden Hall. These actions, as we've been talking about, allow us to space out the remaining individuals in those shelters that will help us meet the physical distancing guidelines. Teams from the city, the county, the Housing Commission, and the Convention Center were on site again today to continue planning the necessary logistics, and you can imagine how many there are, for the Convention Center. The Convention Center is going to be a game changer to help us protect even more people in this vulnerable population by providing a safe environment. And I want to thank all of the members on those crews who have literally been working day and night to get this up and running. These discussions continue and are progressing, and I will have plans to share very quickly on the opening of the Convention Center. And lastly, I'd like to provide an update on our public safety professionals. I was informed this morning that one of our lifeguards has tested positive for COVID-19. And I know the weekend is almost here, and I can't stress this enough. This is a reminder why we need everyone to stay at home. This is one of the reasons that access has been closed to beaches and parks. you can help prevent the spread of this virus among our public safety professionals that keep you and your families and our communities safe. We are doing all that we can in this time to monitor his situation. We hope to have him back soon to continue helping our other lifeguards. We're doing a tremendous job every day, every single day for us. So San Diegans, continue to do your part. We are working to prevent the spread of this virus, but we need everyone's help. And finally, I'd like to provide an update on San Diegans that continue to step up during this time of great need. Many of you have heard the story of the amazing efforts of Claudia, who runs So Loca in Barrio Logan. Claudia has been working nonstop to make hundreds of homemade masks to San Diegans to help give San Diegans an additional layer of protection during the COVID-19 crisis. Our healthcare workers, as you know, rely on surgical-grade masks to protect them as they care for those in need. And we don't want San Diegans using these masks for themselves. So while the masks that Claudia makes cannot be used in hospitals, they are still helping to address our mask shortage by giving regular folks another option and keeping surgical-grade masks in the hands of our doctors and our nurses where they belong, so they can work to protect all of us. My staff recently brought over some of the masks that Claudia made over to the George Stevens Senior Center, where the Executive Director, Rosemary Pope, organized a curbside grab-and-go meals for seniors in need. A lot of our seniors, as you know, can't go to the grocery store and pick up what they need for the week. And they are relying on organizations like the Senior Center to help them get by. And today, just today alone, more than 200 seniors were served and roughly 300 meals were distributed. Everything from canned goods to fresh produce. San Diegans from all walks of life are continuing to come together, continuing to help their neighbors, helping one another, and represent the best spirit of our city. I will conclude, as I always do, reminding us all that when we work together is how we are going to get through this quicker. We can do it by taking care of each other and working together.